The Imperial military was by all accounts massive and encompassed countless different types of specialised units and regiments. However, few compare to the cold weather assault stormtroopers, or snowtroopers as we often refer to them as. Detachments of these soldiers were amongst some of the most dangerous and hardy within the Empire's ranks. But why is this, and what makes snowtroopers so fascinating? Now, it's often assumed that snowtroopers are simply just stormtroopers, but given different armour. However, this cannot be the case. Snowtroopers were expected to survive in some of the most hostile environments in the galaxy. For example, Hoth. At night, temperatures here drop below minus 60 degrees Celsius, or negative 76 Fahrenheit, and this is easily enough to kill you. Realistically speaking, Luke and Han Solo should have died on Hoth. Now, at these temperatures, hypothermia will kick in within minutes of being exposed, and the snowtroopers have a lot of specialist equipment to deal with this. However, additional training would have definitely been needed. Without adequate protection, long-lasting damage to body parts and organs can also occur. So, essentially what I'm saying is, your run-of-the-mill stormtrooper would just not last long here. In the real world, when humans are going to be spending a long time in incredibly cold conditions, they normally have to go through training and censoring to make sure that they can get used to it, as the simple shock of your body all of a sudden having to survive in these freezing cold temperatures normally doesn't end well. Now, when researching snowtroopers, it's said that they are the direct descendants of Clone Cold Assault Troopers and the 21st Nova Corps, also known as the Galactic Marines. Now, this was a pretty big surprise to me, as direct descendants means that they are blood relatives. And this is a little bit confusing, as by the time of, say, the Battle of Hoth, any Clone Trooper era Galactic Marines will have likely have been too old to be fighting. So this implies that the Empire is somehow using these old clones of the Galactic Marines to make its snowtroopers. Now again, this is really bare bones information, as modern canon lore is just not very fleshed out. And it just doesn't really touch on how the stormtroopers are recruited or anything that happens to them during their training. So it could even just be a poor choice of words, and this could be complete nonsense. However, in my mind, this actually makes quite a lot of sense. At the end of the day, Galactic Marines were designed and trained to survive in some of the most toughest conditions, undergoing extreme conditioning in freezing temperatures amongst other environments to make sure they could cope, to make sure their bodies were ready. And they may have even undergone more biological concerns on Kamino to make sure that their bodies were possibly even more resilient. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that when the Empire was creating a legion, say, of snowtroopers, it would want to take a bit of inspiration, or anything else that it could, from the Galactic Marines, as they were some of the hardiest troops that the galaxy had ever seen. And this all implies that somehow the genetic makeup of these troops is all combined. It's possible that the snowtroopers are secretly just a new batch of clones. However, considering how the Empire feels about clones, this is very unlikely. It's also widely documented that the Purge troopers were the last clones that the Empire ever created, and after a few hiccups concerning them trying to organise Order 66 and trying to comply with it, involving them shooting numerous Inquisitors on Mon Cala, the Empire didn't want to use clones again. Also, Palpatine had a really big fear of clones. Now, it's also possible that perhaps after the Galactic Marines were retired, any children that they had will have automatically have been conscripted into the Empire. Now, this sounds very dark, but it's definitely not outside the Empire's wheelhouse. Or finally, it could be some form of gene-altering science project done on regular recruits who showed promise to become snowtroopers. The Empire was no stranger to biological experiments, and the fact that they would have to play around with the genes and the DNA of their own soldiers to make them more resilient to these conditions is something that I can definitely see them doing. What we know for certain is that snowtroopers more than likely underwent training from old clones from the Galactic Marines, as these people will have had first-hand knowledge of surviving in these lethal conditions, knowledge that very few other humanoids will have had. We also need to consider the fact that snowtroopers needed far more additional training because of the sheer amount of additional equipment they were also given. For example, snowtroopers' armour had a 2-week battery that could keep them insulated, respirators, grappling hooks, and ice boots. Again, this is all stuff that the standard stormtrooper just doesn't have. Ultimately, I think that this theory makes a lot of sense. I mean, snowtroopers being trained from regular recruits would likely take an incredible amount of time. Why not simply take inspiration and possibly some DNA from some of the Clone Wars' most elite veterans? And ultimately, this makes the snowtroopers one of the most lethal fighting forces in the galaxy, who can survive even the toughest of conditions, making them perfect for the assault on Hoth, and this ultimately led to a brutal rebel defeat. But what do you guys think? Are snowtroopers descendants of the Galactic Marines? And what sort of training do you think they underwent? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TheLoreGuy and tick the bell to get regular updates on when new videos do come out. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed and are having a great day, and I'll see you next time.